Train by day, Kyle Wigginton podcast by night, all day.
All right, so we want to thank Kyle and Another Bar for having us back on our continuation project of Talking Saints at Another Bar here on Ferret Street. It's a beautiful Sunday, JazzFest weekend. And so today I've got myself a little partner here. I got a little guy grabbed off the street.
Pick me up right off the street.
Right, Ms. Fletch, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hey, I'm John Fletcher. I'm a good friend of James. Who Dat Faithful. What's up, Who Dat Nation? We're going to break down some draft today and just have a good time.
Yes, indeed. So, again, want to thank Another Bar for having us out here. Hopefully, maybe seeing our faces in the future again, talking Saints. And so, you know, Mr. Fletcher, how do you feel? Let's just get an overall feel of, let's say, the first round. That's always the most exciting round.
Right, of course.
So, before the Saints picked at 14, was there anything of note that you'd like to just throw in there for the first round?
I think the first thing you would have to talk about is what were the Falcons thinking of doing at 8 with Penix? I don't think people saw that coming. Did you see that?
No.
Did you see that coming?
No shot did I see Penix going at 8. Everything that you were seeing and reading was that possibly late round first, early second.
Right.
Same with Bo Nix. And for the Falcons to sign Kirk Cousins to a 3-year, $150 million guaranteed, and then take Penix
at 8. And then try to say that the Saints were interested in him. I mean, did you see that report? I'm not buying that.
So apparently Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis were making calls to the Titans and a little bit people right in front of the Falcons saying, "Oh, we want Penix, Penix." And maybe, you know, they throw these stories out there all the time because it's a little game sometimes on making your opponent think that play a false card, you know?
Right.
So maybe the Falcons felt like the Saints were going to trade up and not miss out on, let's say, a Patrick Mahomes-ish person like they did a few years ago. But for me, I think the Falcons are doing the right thing by trying to lock down that quarterback position. But at the same time, it's costing your team.
Yeah, I think they tried to throw that Saints went after him thing to kind of make themselves look better, make it look like, oh, well, the Saints wanted him too. You know what I'm saying? You know, the typical Saints Falcons banter.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that to me that was the surprise at 8 was did not see Penix going there at all.
No, I
agree.
have
to wonder what they're really thinking.
I agree with you. And then seeing the GM explaining to billionaire Arthur Blank.
He's trying to explain to him exactly how they needed the quarterback after you just paid $150 million for a guy.
So I just signed $150 million and you take a quarterback at 8. He's like, sir, this is why you're not going to fire me.
Yeah, he's giving his reasons, and I don't know if Arthur's buying it or not.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see down the line.
We'll wait and see, but you know, looking at the NFC South right now, love seeing Bryce Young struggle and the Panthers trade away their future while CJ Stroud is cutting up at the Texans.
Yes.
You know, love to see the Falcons possibly waste a top 10 pick on a quarterback that won't play for 4 years.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And then he'll be like 35 years old by the time he's 4 years in the NFL too.
Yeah. So and then for me also, I think then the Jets at 10, picking the tackle that I think Saints fans thought that's who we were going to.
So if any one of y'all paid attention to mock drafts, like, so for me, I'm starting looking at mock drafts as the day after the Super Bowl. And so pretty much for the last 4 months, Oli Fashanu, or the guy from Penn State.
Yeah.
He wasn't the top tackle prospect.
No, Alt was, everyone knew Alt was going probably to the Chargers.
Correct.
You know,
and
he was the clear cut number 1.
Correct. And so for him to get snagged up by the Jets, who I felt personally, since they're all in on Aaron Rodgers, he's got 1 year left on his deal. He's coming off of the injury.
Right.
I figured give him one more weapon. Because they have invested in the O-line.
Right. Everyone was thinking Bowers. You know, Bowers was going to be the guy. But I guess they're protecting their 1 year investment after that Achilles injury last year, not being able to block for him. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
And so I can't foul the Jets on that. I love O-line, D-line. When you beef up your interior, exterior line on both sides, I feel you can't go wrong there. Even if you swing and miss, it just is what it is. But no, so that I think truly was when the first round started shaking up a little bit. The first 7-8 picks, the Falcons picks.
Yeah, but at 10 was when things started going not chalk other than the
going to
thing.
plan.
Right.
And so you had the Jets take our guy who we were like, this is the best.
Well, yeah, we were actually watching the draft together, and we were talking about how, man, this is the guy we want. And then right there at 10, boom,
gone,
taken. And we're like, what the hell? Like, that was not expected. I don't think. I think we all thought Bowers was going to be that pick there.
So that's when Fashanu gets taken at 10. Then we're starting to look down at the draft board and we're like, all right, well, what if Bowers?
Oh yeah, we're looking at we're sitting there saying, well, what about Bowers? And I even sat there and told you, I said, if Bowers is there at 14, I'd have to tell Derek Carr, take 3-step drop and duck and make sure you get it to him. Like, screw the left tackle. We're not worried about protecting you. If Bowers is there, let's get Bowers and we'll figure out the blocking. I just feel like at that point we thought we had Bowers, and then
100%.
The Raiders are going to Raider, I guess.
And yeah, Raiders will Raider. And like, just riddle me this. You take Michael Myers out of Notre Dame in the first round last year.
Early second. He was
early second as the Raiders last year. You don't have a court besides Gardner Minshew, which love Gardner Minshew, but he's not
great mustache.
Great mustache. Love the mustache. But you don't have anybody you're throwing to besides Devontae Adams. You got Michael Myers last year in the second, and then you go ahead and take Brock Bowers, which again, he was probably wide regarded as a top 10 prospect.
Oh, easily.
But the Raiders do have multiple needs across the board.
Oh, plenty needs.
And then right before that at 12, I thought Broncos would probably scoop up some player of value, and they go with
So you didn't think they were going Knicks?
I did not think.
I was on the other end. I thought that Sean Payton was going to go quarterback. I mean, look at who they have at quarterback. You know what I'm saying? It's they traded for Zach Wilson in the offseason, and then Stidham's they don't really have anybody. I thought that Sean would make a move, and apparently when they brought Knicks in for his private workout, they gave him a playbook the night before, and he knew the playbook the next morning. So Sean was already sold on him right then and there.
Sean woke up a little bit taller that day.
Yeah.
When
for sure.
Bo Nix walks in and starts reading off the playbook word for word. I'm pretty sure the table rose about 2 inches off the ground when Sean Payton.
Easily. I mean, I'm sure that he was like, you know what? We don't even have to worry about no more interviews for the first round. This is our guy.
And so we'll see what happens there. But, Sean, best of not luck to you. You're dead to us.
Yeah. Well, good luck, Sean. We'll see you in the dome this year. How about that?
How about that, Sean? Welcome home. But I guess so getting to the 14th pick.
To where we are now.
So when Brock Bowers goes off at 13, Saints are on the clock. And then you and I are looking at each other like, who is it going to be? And so... Yes,
we're saying trade down.
That's what I'm wanting. So my problem is that your top tier left tackles are now off the board, and so then you have your second tier of left tackles, but then you also have Fuga out of Oregon State, who some projections had us taking him. So it makes sense. And that makes sense. Offensive tackle is the biggest need on the team right now because you have Penning that you have a question mark for.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's gotten himself right and will be ready to take another stab at that first slot at left tackle. Yep. But
speaking on O-line, James Hurst. He retired.
James Hurst retires 24 hours before the draft.
Which, hey, I'm not going to complain because I wasn't James Hurst. We'll leave it at that, I guess. James Hurst.
He's a great backup, but when he has to start 2 out of the 3 years you're here, we're having
not what you're looking for. No,
and so going down through it, your 10 minutes are starting to clock tick down.
And you have question marks on Ramczyk.
So we pretty much knew offensive tackle probably was going to be.
It looked like offensive line was going to be the option, but then we had Bowers there. Again, we didn't think Bowers was going to make it to 13, or 14, somewhere right up in that area. So you're like, okay, whoa, hold up. Yeah, we're looking at line, but we had this guy. Yeah. But hey, he gets taken. Next thing you know, it seemed like the Saints weren't sure where they were going. They were apparently fielding calls. Apparently. Trade talk. Who knows? Yeah. Trying to trade down, but
it's truly. I don't think when Bowers got taken, I think Bowers was the guy at 14. when he got taken, the Saints started panicking.
Oh yeah, well, and the tackle's gone too.
Yeah,
The guy
and
that
your
we wanted.
tackle's
So
gone. So I think they were like you. They were fielding calls, trying to maybe move back a few slots, gain some extra capital, and then no deal.
Yeah, I don't think it was anything that really tickled their fancy, I guess, and made them think that, hey, we should make this move. I think they ran it down to about 2 minutes. But they took almost all of that time to figure out, hey, Fuaga's the guy we're going to go with. And hey, that's, ultimately where we went in the first round.
Yeah, so for the Saints 2024 draft at number 14 overall, we took offensive tackle Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State.
Yes.
This is a high character guy. They say his pass blocking is his best asset, but he's also a mauler in the run game. So I really didn't see too many negatives against him.
Oregon State last year killed it in the run game. From stuff that I read, they were demolishing teams in the run game. I'm sure he had plenty to do with that. Oh,
and he seems like a hard worker. He's a mammoth of a man, 6'6", 325. 5.1 in the 40-yard dash. If we went out into the street right now and raced Fuaga, he's smoking all of us. At 325 pounds.
And hey, you gotta like the Hawaiian.
Oh, so the Polynesians pump out more football players per capita than any other country in this world.
Hey, and always bringing in O-line, D-line. That's what they're known for. They have some maulers. So hey, look, you know what? We wanted Bowers, but at the end of the day, we end up with Fuaga. So I think.
So initially, my first reaction was like the pick, like the player, like the build, like the attributes. Yeah. My first issue was he played right tackle all of college, and so to me, it is hard to transition a right tackle to left tackle. Because it's almost throwing a baseball or swinging
it's a totally different position, right?
Your sets are different, your hands are different, so it will be difficult. But if he
also left tackle is seeing the best dominant pass rush. Sure. Obviously they move around some time to time, scheme during the game, but overall you're facing their best guy at left tackle.
Sure, and so we do know from Dennis Allen's press conference after the first round that he sees Fuaga starting at tackle. So that leaves the question being, is it left tackle or is Ramczyk done at right tackle?
See, now what I think, I think Ramczyk's done. I think that they know that whatever's going on with that knee, that he had that little procedure, they thought it was going to be good. It's not. I think they think Ramczyk, they're pretty much writing him off. Or if he is going to play, they're not expecting him to make it through the whole season or have a possibility of injury. Yeah,
I'm with you 100% on that. I love Ramczyk. He's been great for us. Multi all-pro, great guy, but degenerative knee issue. Yeah,
that's never good.
They've been managing for the last 2 years, and so this year the off-season knee surgery is not responding well. So this is at worst a great insurance plan if he doesn't end up starting at tackle, so where you can fill him in at guard. But I pretty much see him. This is Rams last year. If not, he's never.
Right. Yeah, it's either his last year or he's just gone now. I think this will be the Saints starting right tackle.
I agree with you 100%. And so, again, Fuaga, it wasn't like a reach of any kind. He was projected anywhere from 12 to 20. So he went right in the range he was supposed to go.
Yeah.
And so I think overall, me personally, I would give this pick probably an A. It was a position of need. You got a great prospect.
Well, and I think you hit it on the nail. He's not a project, Saints fans. The last couple of years in the first round, what have we heard behind names other than Chris Olave? Whoever's being drafted, Davenport, Peyton Turner, Trevor Penning, another lineman. What's been connected with them though?
Oh, they're all small school projects.
Yeah, projects.
Oh, but they have the body build, but we're just going to coach them up and get them strong.
I think Saints fans, I know me included for sure, was just great to see the word project not being
associated to a name.
Yeah, attached to a first round name, because first round they're supposed to just be able to come in and start for you, contribute that day. I'm glad to see that. I think we can all agree on that.
100%. And so, maybe real quick, hopefully, let's say best case scenario, absolute best case scenario, you're talking Penning growing up and starting at left, maybe Fuaga at left guard for his first year.
Possibly
McCoy,
so.
Ruiz, and then Ramczyk at right. But if Ramchek's out, then Fuga immediately fills that right tackle need, and then you just got to go find a left guard.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. They still have holes in the O-line. We'll have to figure that out. But I think this was at least a good step in the right direction.
Definitely, 100%. Feel good about this pick. A lot better than Trevor Penning a few years ago. And so, Mr. Fletch, you want to talk about our second round pick?
So my favorite pick of the draft. First off, the name Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. I mean, this is perfect for New Orleans Saints. The city, I mean, a guy named Kool-Aid. I mean, does it get any better than that for Saints fans? I'm sure before the beginning of the year, we'll have some type of gold flavored Kool-Aid or something for him. I'm sure he can run with plenty of difference. Kind of like Kamara, he had the Airheads. The
Airheads.
Yeah. Well, Kool's going to have something.
Thrown out Kool-Aid packets.
Yeah. There's Kool-Aid in the dome. Don't worry about it. You hear? But yeah, Kool-Aid McKinstry. So we actually traded up for this pick. We traded up 4 spots. We picked him at 41. So that tells me we really liked him they didn't trade up a lot, but they traded up 4 spots for a guy that, hey, let's be honest, at 41, Kool-Aid, this guy was projected to go earlier than 41. This is a steal.
He was a steal.
This is a steal.
If you looked at the rankings and mock drafts and whatnot by all the GMs and scouts, Kool-Aid was talked about being a first round draft pick, possibly the third corner off the board.
Yeah.
And this draft was a little weird where you had some interesting runs. So you start off the draft with 6 quarterbacks in the top 10, which I don't think has ever happened.
No. I think this is the most quarterbacks drafted in the first round.
And then late in the first, you had your top 3 corners taken, Terrion Arnold, Mitchell from Toledo, and then the guy from Clemson, I believe.
Yeah. I think the guy from Clemson, he either went late first or early second, but either way, yeah.
So then to start the second, and then at the end of the first, you had your run on receivers.
Yeah, which speaking of, what were the Bills doing?
I would have to say,
do they need a receiver, James?
I think I've caught more passes in the NFL than the whole wide receiver room in the Bills. That is one team that I think absolutely screwed the pooch in this draft. You let go Stephon Diggs. You let go your number 2, Gabe Davis. You have nobody that is worth anything.
And let's just add another side note to this. They also traded with the Chiefs again. To let them then get a wide receiver, Xavier Worthy, who runs a 4.2 flat almost. So it sounds like they haven't learned their lesson from trading to the Chiefs from the last time with Mahomes.
Wake up. Do not trade with
Bills fans.
The Chiefs.
I mean,
because y'all just saw Xavier go to them, and then 2 other wide receivers get taken.
And then they traded back again to the Panthers, and then the Panthers take a receiver. I mean, and then they ended up they did take Keon Coleman from Florida State, and he's actually a New Orleans native.
Is that right?
Louisiana native, rather.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw his interview, but it was a good thing on SportsCenter. You might want to go check that out.
Yeah, I'll check it out. But no, for the Bills, from trading 32 to 33 with the Panthers, you gained a 5th round pick, then you watch them take the stud out of South Carolina.
Yeah, which I like to say, good for him, because he seems like he's a Carolina boy. That's
is he?
Hey, good for
you
him.
Know what? I'm happy. I'm happy for you. We'll see you twice a year, so you can go screw yourself on those Sundays. But I'm pulling for you, dude.
Other than that, the rest of it, hey man, definitely interested. But back to Kool-Aid though, man. Yeah. First team All SEC, first team All American. He was a return man, and then when we drafted him, Saban is now on the was covering the draft.
Yeah.
He's just lighting up about this guy, talking about how instinctual he is and how great of a player he is. When you see something like that with Saban,
and Saban has seen a few defensive backs in his day.
Yeah. And also the position he coaches.
That exactly. So it's the fact that you're getting, and what I also love about this player, this prospect, is that
other than Kool-Aid, right?
Other than his name is Kool-Aid. Is that he has been the guy since he was born. In high school, he was an overall top 25 national prospect.
Right.
Goes to Alabama.
Right.
Plays pretty much since freshman year, I believe he was playing.
Yeah, he's getting play time. Yeah. And he also helped out in special teams. He was a punt returner. I mean, and that's another thing that who knows? That gives us another option. I know we have Shaheed who does that, but it's always good to have some depth at that position.
And so, you can never have enough good corners in this league, especially with injuries. Lattimore's been injured. Lattimore may be traded.
And speaking of that, what does this pick really mean for Saints fans? Lattimore could possibly be on the market.
Definitely. And so this is not only a need. You can never have enough good corners. I think this prospect is great. I would give this an absolute A+ of a pick.
Yeah. No, this is the steal of our draft. I don't know if he's a steal of the draft, but for us, for sure, he's definitely the steal. There's no doubt about it. I mean, getting him at 41.
Yeah.
This guy was supposed to go in the top 32. So you got him nine spots later.
And I think he's great depth. He's going to come in and compete again. Listening to Dennis Allen's press conference for our first two picks, he sees Fuga starting at tackle, and he sees Kool-Aid competing for a starting spot at corner
and contributing. Which again, not to just keep nailing this to us, but Saints fans, you got to love the fact that, again, an early round pick is not considered a project.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all remember Isaiah Foskey,
last year's early second round pick.
Early second round DN out of Notre Dame with all the accolades in the world.
Actually, right around the same draft pick. I don't know exactly where he went, but we were about at 11 or 10 or 11 last year in the second round. So to take him, and he does absolutely nothing. It's just good to see. We don't have a project connected to this. These guys are contributors. These two guys are coming on to the field, and they're going to contribute for the Saints,
contributors,
which just in that sense is great to hear.
And then it gives you flexibility for possibly trading Lattimore, maybe getting a first or second rounder, getting that cap space freed up.
Yeah, and
you got Paulson Adebo that's on his last year of his rookie contract.
Adebo, and honestly, the Saints don't want to admit this, but we're in some type of a rebuild. They don't want to call it a rebuild or a revamp or whatever you want to call it. But Saints fans, we're in some type of a rebuild.
We're in purgatory.
Yeah,
right
we're rebuilding. It's just they don't want to call it that. But realistically, that they signed Carr, did all this, but I think realistically we're in a weird ground where they're not trying to rebuild fully and they're trying to compete, but.
It's almost, personally, just a little side note, NFL purgatory might be the worst place as a fan because you always have a little bit of optimism, but what's the point of finishing 8-9, 9-8, maybe making a wild card, getting beat, never getting a top 10 draft pick.
the last 2 years we've enjoyed watching the last game of the season to then find out we're not making the playoffs.
No.
Well, 2 out of the last 3 years.
It's been a dry spell here, but hopefully we'll see what happens here. We'll get to that on a later video later down here this summer. But so next pick. So then the Saints sat from 41 to 150. So that was a long time to be sitting there, seeing your guys go off the board, not doing Mickey Loomis things and trading up. And so,
and that was one thing, if I would say about the draft, I kind of don't know. I kind of wish maybe we could have gotten into the third round or fourth, it was a little disappointing, but hey, again, what are we're going to trade away future assets for some, not worth it.
And so, and especially for a team that does need youth, this is an older team. It needs youth. Sure. It needs depth.
We are old. We're getting close to that retirement home, half that team.
Yes. And so I understand the concept of sitting there, taking 3 guys in the 5th round, young players, cheap contracts. Yes. And then you never know what's going to happen with these guys. I mean, we like to think, your 4, 5, 6, 7th round players, a lot of the time, realistically, they're not making the team. They're practice squad guys. Yeah. If they end up starting for you, that's a home run of a pick.
Oh, yeah. If they can just contribute, I feel like you've done a good job in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round, even if they're just a backup.
Sure.
You've at least hit it on them to where they can give you some depth. But we go from the steal of the draft to
one of the biggest what ifs or what could be of the draft.
Yeah, quite like one of the bigger, what is this going to be for this guy type of, pick. And of course, the Saints have decided to draft this guy.
Yeah. So the gentleman we are talking about is Spencer Rattler out of South Carolina. So this guy here, 5th round, 150 overall. A very interesting journey to the NFL.
Yeah, which and I've looked at some mock drafts. He was supposed to go somewhere around the 4th, they said. So I guess maybe you could say, hey, at the time where he's at, maybe a little value. Apparently GMs were not a fan of his high school QB1 Netflix show. Yeah, apparently it rubbed them a lot the wrong way. Also, though, how can you really judge that's a 17, 18-year-old kid? He's 5 years old.
I can't believe that was even a story after he got drafted.
Yeah,
GMs are saying, oh, we didn't like how much of a douche he was when he was 17 years old.
He was a douche when he was 17. I mean, well, I'd like to think that the man has grown at this point.
Yeah.
You know, he's trials and tribulations.
So he's a 4 or 5 year senior. So he's matured. He's had his growing pains,
to say the least.
To say the least. But, just give you a background. So why was he a douche in high school? Well, he was the number 1 quarterback in the nation.
Yeah, that'll usually do it for you.
That'll do it for you. Oh, he was a top 10 prospect in the nation in high school. Yeah, I'd probably be a douche too. Oh, I'm on national TV. Yeah, I'm sorry. At 17, and we were doing a lot of other things behind closed doors without cameras. And so I got to give the guy some slack. I can't believe that this was even a factor into his draft stock.
Like I said, this is just crazy to have this as a draft stock reason to drop him down this low. I mean, this is 6 years ago.
Yeah.
There's guys in the league that do a whole lot of or in draft processes that have sped cars, done different things right before draft time, and they've dropped a little bit.
The D tackle that got drafted in the first round out of Texas, he literally got a DUI 2 weeks ago, people. And he goes in the first round. Yeah. And we're harping on some dude because he kind of was an asshole on TV.
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
so let's get our priorities straight here, America. But so just a little bit about this prospect. So he redshirted his first year at Oklahoma.
Yes. Yeah.
And then his redshirt freshman year, he was the starter, all Big 12. He was 8th in the FBS in passing yards.
Yeah, he had a great freshman year.
Led the team to a 9-2 record. Big 12 champions. So things started off great.
Oh yeah, well there was talk that when he would come out of whatever draft class he went, that he would be the number 1 quarterback in his draft class at that time.
So
life comes at you fast.
Life comes at you fast because then
change.
The next year.
Yes, the very next year.
Very next year. A no-named guy. I don't know if y'all have heard of him. Caleb Williams.
Yeah. Have you heard of that guy, Caleb Williams?
I don't know if you've heard of him, but he was number 2 on the depth chart. And so Rattler is not lighting things up so much in the first 6 games.
First couple weeks, things are not looking good. They're down 28-7 against Texas in the first quarter. Lincoln Riley pulls them. Caleb Williams comes in. The rest is history. And Caleb Williams goes number 1.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler's 5th round to the Saints.
And so after that, Caleb's humbled. He gets pulled, sees Caleb Williams win the game against their rival Texas, sits the rest of the year, transfers to South Carolina, and then his first year at South Carolina really didn't go that great.
No.
He started all 12 or 13 games for him, but we're talking about South Carolina. They're the bottom of the barrel in SEC East. So he doesn't have really a lot of talent around him. The O-line was
this past year, me and you looked at just some highlights and film of that, and the O-line was terrible. The guy was running for his life, getting hit. I can remember watching a few games, just thinking, man, this O-line is terrible.
Right. And so you have to keep that into consideration, especially with your quarterback position. And so his junior redshirt sophomore year at South Carolina, started all the games. The stats were very meh. 18 tutties to 12 picks. That's a terrible interception ratio. So there's question marks about his decision making.
Correct.
But then he kind of did turn it around his senior year. 13 games. He broke the South Carolina completion percentage.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you like to see that.
So if I believe it was hovering around 69%. And so you like to see that. But
the touchdown interception ratio was still just not where you really want it to be. He's athletic. He's a good thrower of the ball, not very athletic.
Yeah, he runs a 4.95, so Fuga can almost beat him in a foot race.
Right.
But as an overall vision for this player, I think what the Saints are doing here, you're always strapped for cash with the Saints. And so the last few years, he's been holding on to expensive backups and Jameis Winston and other players. Yeah. And so I believe this was a Kubiak pick. I think
Kubiak sees something in him. Also, like you just said, I think that going back to they're not really wanting to call it a rebuild or a revamp or whatever you want to call it, but they're not spending money in certain areas. Backup quarterback is where they're deciding not to spend money. Bringing in Mond, Nathan Peterman. I know Saints fans, y'all love the Nathan Peterman pickup, and then Jake Haener. So to me, that tells me that I don't know if they're really sold on Jake Haener yet.
So to me personally, I think the backup QB competition is going to be Peterman versus Mond.
Yeah,
and I will give the lean to Mond because he has more recency with Kubiak's offense and system. But Mond is by no means somebody you want to see the field at all.
I think Peterman and Mond are there to help with the installation of the
which would make sense. Yeah. And you need those players in the offseason in 2 days.
Yeah, correct.
But it's really going to come down to Haener versus Rattler. And I got to give the advantage to Rattler right now. Not even seeing him take a snap in the NFL.
I mean, well, you just going off of talent, the guy has showed that he can do it. It's just, I don't know where he lost his way, what happened with him. But you got to give the nod to Rattler. I think we'll see, obviously through the preseason. I'm sure both of those guys will be playing a lot.
Definitely. And, another thing that I do like, hopefully with that maturity that he's hopefully had in these last few years, talk about having a chip on his shoulder, wanting to prove something, being a number one prospect out of high school, getting humbled in college. The guy that took your job is a number one overall.
You got
to think he's coming in there with a little piss and vinegar and
for sure
going to try to win that number 2 job. And to see Rattler walk onto the field when Derek Carr eventually gets injured and bruises his hair.
That's the other thing. The car's always damaged.
That car. They need to build a shop next to the Shrine on Airline or the Saints facility because that car is always in the shop.
Yeah.
If I see Derek Carr get carted off one more time and then look he's dead,
it's happening, and it's going to be in the second half of the game sometime where we're going to really need him. The guy just gets hurt. So your backup quarterback is definitely
It's a valuable position.
It's a valuable position here. It's for the Saints.
Definitely.
But the only other thing I would say is this is probably the first time in this young man's career that he's not in the spotlight since high school. Yeah, he was on a Netflix show at 16, 17 years old. So obviously he was the number one quarterback in his recruiting class, went to Oklahoma. They thought he was going to be the number one pick. Like he's had the spotlight on him for a while now. Maybe he can kind of just get out of the spotlight, put his head down, put some work in, and maybe we'll see where it goes for him.
Definitely. I mean, he's got obviously some attributes that they like.
Yeah.
So Mr. Fletch, you want to tell us about our new wide receiver here?
Yeah. So another good name. I'm glad I'm getting these picks with the good names. First Kool-Aid. Now we got Bub Means out of Pitt, 5th round, 170 overall. Yes. Guy is 6'2", 222. He runs a 4.43, so he's a true 4.4.
True burner. He's got good size for that speed.
Yes.
The production a lot of the time wasn't there. And so, actually, he started out as a defensive back, didn't he?
Yeah, actually, he started out as a defensive back for Tennessee with Alontae Taylor. Yeah, right. So that's his connection there. So he'll already have somebody he knows on the team. But yeah, he played as a defensive back, ended up going to transferring out to Louisiana Tech. So, hey.
That Louisiana connection, La Tech. Started learning the receiver route tree there. That's got to say something to his athleticism and his overall hands, for them to be like, oh, you're a DB. Oh, wait, you're catching all the interceptions. Let's try you out of a wide receiver.
Right. Yeah. So he ends up going to Pitt for 2 years. This last season's kind of when he came onto the scene.
Yeah.
He led the team with 6 touchdown catches. He had over 700 yards and I think over 40 something catches. He was their number one target. Me and you actually kind of looked at some highlights of the guy. Looks like he can take the top off of the defense.
Definitely.
Seems like that's his trick, or that's his I guess
That's his one gig there. That he can start
like
off
that's
initially.
correct. Like he's a burner. He can definitely take the top off the defense.
You gotta like his size and some of the highlights that we saw yesterday. A lot of catches we saw using hands away from his body. So you love to see that. But yes, he looks like his route tree is going to have to grow, but we did see a lot of 9 routes, a lot of out routes.
Yeah.
He came across the middle.
Yeah, he did.
Lot,
Yeah, he showed
a decent amount.
but the big the big thing that I saw was that he can just burn it. Posts, verticals, 9 routes. He was just burning people. And it was a lot of it was off of play action, which Saints fans don't know. Derek Carr.
He's one of the top 5 quarterbacks rating wise alpha play action, which we didn't do last year. So hopefully Kubiak can tap that in. But a lot of those big plays, you see a lot of big plays coming off of play action. And if you get this dude running across the field on a post or a 9 route, he's got a good chance of getting that one step. And with that height and jumping ability, he might come down with that ball.
Yeah. And I mean, not to cut you off, but you know what? I guess where do you see this guy? Do you see him being production in the wide receiver room or?
So I would say initially you're looking at potentially your punt returner, kick returner, Kool-Aid might even mix. So I'm thinking this guy's going to be a gunner. He can contribute. The way he's going to make the team is going to have to be through special teams.
And maybe he can grow into something wide receiver wise.
I see a little bit of a Shaheed growth pattern here where he makes his money initially that makes the roster on special teams, but keeps growing on the offense and wide receiver room. And so when you look at it right now, we lost Michael Thomas, obviously. And so you're looking at Olave as your 1, Shaheed 2,
and then A.T. Perry your 3, which hey, I A.T. Perry has some upside. I think he showed some, to me, Michael Thomas type of plays.
Definitely. He towards the end of the year, he in the last few games, he showed some growth. He started getting more playing time. He was catching the ball.
Yes. Yeah.
You're very prototypical possession receiver.
Correct.
And so I think Bub here can truly come in and compete for a starting role in special teams. But hey, that 4th wide receiver spot is wide open.
Yeah, it's open. Yeah, they've picked up some journeyman
here and there, veterans. And
I'm sure they'll bring more in just with camp.
Sure.
But yeah, overall, I think this guy has a shot to he can make the team.
Definitely. And then if he can continue to grow, I mean, you never know. Sometimes it takes these receivers 1 or 2 years to learn the speed of the game and work on their technique. But I think so far, just looking at this draft so far, you really got to feel pretty decent where we've addressed areas of need with these good prospects. And so sitting here at your 2nd pick in the 5th round, you're feeling pretty good. And then honestly, like our last pick in the 5th round, I liked a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to let you handle this guy because it sounds like you're a huge fan of him.
So Jalen Ford out of Texas, middle linebacker. He was the 5th round, 175. And so what I really love about this guy is that he's a true inside middle linebacker, which is becoming the way of the dinosaur a little bit because these days, just with...
Yeah, you just need guys who are going sideline to sideline that with the tight ends and the running backs, even sometimes, depending on what you're in, getting lined up against a slot receiver.
Yeah, true. And so what I love about this player, his size, 6'3", 240. Again, he's a thumper in the middle. He is a 2-year starter. Was a captain last year for his defense, led the team the last 2 years with over 100 plus tackles. I saw a lot. He got 4 interceptions junior year, and I think 2 or 3 senior year.
So he has a knack for the ball. You could, it would show.
He's around the ball. He's apparently does pretty well in pass coverage. So they say he can contribute on 3rd down, which is actually where Pete Werner does not as well. So Pete Werner is a good 1st and 2nd down, but on 3rd down he gets burned.
Well,
so
correct. And we still have we just signed Willie Gay. We'll see how we'll see where he fits in. But I think from what I've seen and what you've kind of told me about too, I think he has a shot to, at least give us some depth at that position. If linebackers are going to go down at some point, in the season.
And so what I love about this, out of all the 5th round picks, I see this guy immediately contributing on special teams, and the Saints take a lot of pride in their special teams, minus their punters and kickers. But they take a lot of pride in special teams. This year, we got the new rules on kickoff. So that's going to be a whole new strategy, and maybe that's some of the guys we've taken. They see visions of success in these new roles and new rules in special teams. But for Jalen Ford, I think he immediately contributes on all phases of special teams. He comes in and competes for your fourth linebacker spot. Demario Davis, love him. He's still playing at a high level, but he's 34 years old. Pete Werner's getting close to the end of his contract. Willie Gay Jr., who I think will beat Werner out for the number 2 role. Really? I think Willie Gay is going to beat him out, but Willie Gay's on a 1-year contract.
Correct. Yeah, I was about to say he's also on a 1-year deal.
And so, this is in the coming years, we're going to have to figure out linebacker again next year.
Yeah, for sure. And just a little side note for Jalen Ford.
I love this story when you told me.
Yeah. So he was a Buckus semifinalist, and they asked him, did he know who Dick Buckus was? And this guy, which in this day and age, 2024, he's a 20-something-year-old, he pulls out a Dick Buckus picture out of his wallet and shows him, do I know who Dick Buckus is? Yeah, he's in my wallet. So I think that speaks volumes of a guy like this. Yeah. I mean, you got to root for a guy like that.
Gotta love it. It sounds like he knows his history. Yeah. He speaking to him, they said,
who keeps a picture in their wallet, these days?
Dick Butkus.
Yeah, nonetheless. Dick.
Can I say it one more time? Dick Butkus. But no, you got to love that. He says that one of his players he looked up to was Demario Davis. So he's going to absorb.
Yeah, I mean,
he's going to
love to hear that. Yeah, he's going to love that.
I love this pick. I think he's got potential to be a potential starter, next year or the year after. Yeah. And we'll see where it goes. But I feel really good about that pick. Position of need, sneaky position of need.
Yeah.
And again, my vision for him, special team starter immediately. And then competing for that number 4 spot, and only an injury away from seeing more time on the field. You know?
Yeah.
And so, at the 6th round, Mr. Fletcher, you want to tell us about our new big boy?
We're getting down to the we're hoping they're making the team around here. But Colston was a 6th round pick.
Colston 6th round.
So
pick.
You never know what you can find. Brady.
Who was Zach Streif with a 7th rounder?
Yeah, I mean, so that's not to say, that this young man right here, Christian Boyd, out of Northern Iowa, 6'2", 320. So he's a big human being.
He's a big boy. He bench pressed 38 reps at 225.
Yeah, you love to hear that.
I don't know about Shell, but that's a lot of weight moving a lot of times.
Yeah, that's a lot of weight moving a lot of places.
And so, his production at Northern Iowa, it's a D1 2A.
Yeah, I think it's FCS
or FCS.
Yeah.
And so, his production early on was kind of non-existent, but that's not to be surprised when you're young. Getting into his senior years where he put himself on the map to get drafted. He was a 3rd team All FCS, All American. He had 6.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks.
Yeah, which at the D tackle position, that's
if you can
you're disrupting some things. Yeah, usually you're just there to more take up some space and eat up some blocks and let them linebackers come through. But he's obviously getting to the quarterback or causing disruption.
And so for the D tackle again for the Saints is another position of need. Brian Breesy, the guy you got on your chest right there. What a great pick. Love that pick last year when we took him. He turned out to be growing last year.
Yeah.
I expect big things out of him this year. But the Saints really, truly don't have that true number 2 starting defensive tackle.
No, and I think they're going to have to go into free agency. I think it'd be asking a lot for this guy to come in and.
I agree. So I love us some Kalen Saunders pot roast.
Yeah, old pot roast.
Gotta love pot roast.
Yeah.
But
just a sign out. Is Kubiak going to keep pot roast in that fullback spot?
You know what?
I need him in that fullback spot still.
I'm drafting pot roast in fantasy because he's going to be my sneaky flex play. Because he's getting 6 tutties this year.
Yeah, there's nothing sneaky about a guy that big here. I don't think.
You hear him walk onto the field with his pot roast belly, and when you give that guy the ball, he's bowling over into the end zone. Loved it, but I digress. Anyways, I see this guy. He's a run stopper from what they say. The Saints' run defense has fallen off over the last few years. And so anywhere you can find a guy that can maybe contribute and help stop that bleeding in the run game, you got to like.
And he's from Northern Iowa. So
Northern Iowa. So we got Trevor Penning.
We got Penning, a friend.
Trevor Penning's got a roommate.
Maybe you can catch him on the side and say, hey, man, get your shit together.
Yeah.
You know?
So I was thinking to myself, Northern Iowa, never been there, never going.
Yeah, don't plan on it.
And for Mr. Trevor Penning, who was from Iowa himself, what is there, like 5 people in Iowa? And I'm sure he's never seen a city like New Orleans before in his life. So
No.
I just see this dude's head spinning like the Exorcist, going, what is all of this shit around here?
Yeah,
So much
yeah.
temptation, so much fun. You're a millionaire youngster. And then, but we knew, again, project.
Yeah,
And-
correct. So, hey, we're on a serious note, we'll give Penning. I think this year will show
Yeah.
where he's at. Let's give the guy
And then honestly,
and he was coming off. He had an injury his
did,
first
he
year.
did.
New offensive system, new offensive line coach.
which is huge.
So maybe this guy can get Penning together.
And honestly, at the end of the day, it's real talk. It's not a bad thing to bring in somebody that he's familiar with.
No, yeah,
Someone he went up
correct.
against practice with every day.
Right.
To add that comfortability to him in the locker room, maybe that just is a little extra
Yeah,
thing
maybe
to help him
Who knows?
grow.
Right.
You know?
Correct. Who knows?
And then, so last but not least, we finished out our draft in the 7th round, 239 overall, with offensive tackle Josiah Ezram out of Eastern Kentucky. And so we got
this is also another huge giant human being.
this is
here.
a 6'6", 330.
This is a big man.
The Saints love their big guys. So, in the 7th round, you're just looking at guys with attributes that you like, because obviously you're getting picked in the 7th round for a reason.
For sure.
You're looking at this guy. He was I believe a starter at right tackle.
So he actually started his career at defensive lineman.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yes, and he ended up changing to I believe tackle. Yes.
And so he's still pretty green on the offensive line. So there's
Correct.
growth there. And one of the biggest things that you told me about this prospect was that at the East and West Shrine game, that
This is
offensive
another,
offensive assistant Jari Evans, who used to be a
Saints
All-Pro
fans,
guard,
Jari Evans.
yeah, all the older Saints fans.
Now.
Jari Evans is one of the best guards to play for the Saints. And then he's probably a Hall of Fame potential.
Yes. Yeah.
Once his name gets nominated. But Jari Evans was there at the East-West Shrine game, coached on the team that Ezram was on, and he saw something that he liked there.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, obviously, this is a 7th round pick. He's a project. But yeah, obviously he saw something, whether it's character, or saw character and how he played. Maybe he says, hey, for a 7th round pick, this might be a guy that we want to, pursue or go after. It sounds like the Saints listen to him.
Sure, because you one thing is you can never have enough depth on the O-line. You can never have enough young depth.
Yeah, I think we learned that during the COVID season and just this past season.
Definitely.
Picking up guys off the street.
And so if this guy's got versatility to play guard or tackle, you definitely don't want to see him on the field at all this year.
No.
Because then things are going horribly wrong.
No.
But if this for the vision for this year, I mean, it might be tough for him to make the 53-man roster. So he's a guy that maybe goes to practice squad.
Maybe practice squad.
But if he's able to beat out some of the older veterans, journeymen that they have on the O-line, then maybe they keep him. And so overall. Wrapping this up here, that was the Saints 2024 draft. And so looking at it, how did you walk away feeling overall?
So-
I mean, we had 7 picks overall.
Yeah. So I the 1st and 2nd round picks, I love 1st and 2nd round picks. I think it was one position of need. We took care of that for both positions. And 2, we didn't get a project guy. We got guys who are impact players in college. They're gonna come onto the scene and contribute right off the bat. You're not worrying about, is this guy gonna be able to do this, or can he play, or he's a project. I think the 1st and 2nd round was great. I think the most disappointing part of the draft would be something that maybe wasn't even much in their control for this season, is we didn't even have a 3rd and 4th round pick.
Yep.
So we really didn't get to see them go after some other guys. We kind of had to wait till the 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Spencer Rattler pick was eye-opening, or it kind of makes you
like raise your eyebrow.
Yeah.
Of, what are they what are their plans with him? What do they see with this guy?
Exactly. So that's my thing, is that to sit 100+ picks and to go with Spencer Rattler, are they thinking? Because sure, do you want to have a cheaper quarterback backup room? Sure. But with Kubiak, you got Derek Carr for guaranteed 1 more year, if not 2.
Yeah, for sure.
What if this guy develops? It's so much unknown about Rattler. He's
I'd say he's the biggest question mark or the conundrum of the draft.
And
Saints fans are gonna be waiting to see kind of what he brings to the table as far as, does he end up winning the backup job, Hainer? I think that'll be something to look at in camp.
Be interested to see his growth over the next few years.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, with the 5th round guy, the other 5th round guys, you hope Bub can make the team, special teams, and compete for that 4th round spot. I love love Jalen Ford out of Texas.
Butkus guys.
I love Butkus, and so if I think he makes the team, no problem. And then the other 2 guys, it's going to be tough when you're 6th, 7th round guy. You're fighting for backup spots. You're fighting for a practice squad. And as of this morning, the draft ended yesterday. As of this morning, the Saints have signed 15 undrafted free agents, I think.
Yeah.
And
as soon as the draft's over, the undrafted free agents they're coming in.
The New Orleans Saints are one of the best teams in the league about finding undrafted free agents, because every year we have one undrafted free agent make the team
for sure
and contribute.
Yeah.
And so this draft, let's say, is not done yet. We got a bunch of undrafted free agents coming in. And so one of those guys, I think, are going to have a good chance to make the team, and just the way they always do.
For sure.
So, walking away from this, I'd give this a solid B.
I would say a B for sure. Obviously, top heavy is what's creating that B. But I think they, I'd say they did a solid job. A B sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And to your point, I feel very comfortable about their first 2 picks. These guys are going to start and contribute immediately, which is something we haven't seen a lot of in the 1st or 2nd round picks from the Saints in recent. But so I want to thank Kyle again for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Our little draft recap here for the 2024 New Orleans Saints. Thanks for Fletcher. Thanks for having it, Fletch. How can we find you online?
So my Instagram is @John_Fletcher, JON. That's where you can find me on Instagram and Twitter as well.
All right, fantastic. You can find me, my personal JQuell8211, and then do a little music on the side here. I always like to try and keep my creative juices flowing.
He's all over the place.
We're at Vacillator 504, the band name there, working on some new songs. Hopefully going to try and get an album out this year, our first album. And again, love Another Bar. This is one of the main hangout spots here. It's a great spot on Ferret Street. Y'all come once this place opens up at what, 2 o'clock today? 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Right. Go to JazzFest, get your fest on. Come on down, grab a drink, come hang out with Kyle and the crew here. It's just an awesome place, guys. We want to thank them again.
Yeah.
Hopefully see you soon.
We hope to see you soon, Who Dat Nation.
All right, guys. Who Dat? Take care. God bless.